Xbox is going handheld. Partnered with ASUS, they've released two handheld gaming PCs. There's the Xbox Ally. That's the white model and akin to the Series S. It's the lower priced, lower spec handheld. And there's the Xbox Ally X. That's the black model, akin to the Series X. It's the higher priced, higher spec, and even upgraded features handheld. This is the review of the ASUS Xbox Ally X. If you're looking for the review of the Xbox Ally, you can hit that link right up there, or wherever it is. Either way, what I'm saying is get subscribed because we're going to install SteamOS on this thing, upgrade the storage, do way more in-depth game testing, and see how far we can go with emulation in future videos. But right now, let's talk about the ASUS Xbox Ally X. I do just want to quickly disclose that ASUS did provide this device for review. This is not sponsored by ASUS, Xbox, Microsoft, or anyone involved in the creation of this device. That means that every word in this video is completely my own and not seen by anybody before it's been published. But it is sponsored by AfterPlay. I was actually surprised to hear that not many people knew about AfterPlay. It's hands down the easiest way to bring emulation with you on practically anything. All you do is sign up for an account, which is free by the way, and you can immediately start building up your retro game catalog, all in the cloud. So if you're on an iPhone, Android, or a handheld gaming PC, you just go to the AfterPlay site or download the app, sign in, and all of your games and their save files are right there with you. You don't need to tinker with settings either. Everything is pretty much plug and play. AfterPlay supports Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Super Nintendo, along with 25 more systems, and that's all for free. If you want more save states, link cable support to trade Pokemon with friends, fast forward, rewind, and a ton more options, you can upgrade to premium for just $2.08 per month. The free tier is perfect to see if AfterPlay is right for you, and then the premium tier will really give you an insane amount of additional features. It's pretty much a one and done emulation app because it has a wide variety of capabilities and it's so easy to switch between devices. You never have to set up devices ever again for emulation. If you're interested in AfterPlay, you can head over to the link in the description of this video. And thanks to AfterPlay for sponsoring this video. The Xbox Ally X is a powerful handheld. It's got the new Z2E processor from AMD, 24GB of RAM, a 1080p 7-inch 120Hz LCD touchscreen, and 1TB of internal storage. The Xbox Ally X retails for $999, but there is its younger brother Xbox Ally for $599. From an ergonomic and hardware design perspective, it is simply the most comfortable handheld I've ever experienced. I know it looks silly with the handles, but I think this is my favorite form factor handheld easily. It's literally the exact same form factor as grips for the Switch, and so many people swear by that being the most comfortable way to play Switch. There's so many handhelds where the first thing people do is create 3D printable grips. I didn't really like the grips at first, but I'm fully bought in. It may not look sleek, but the ergonomic benefits are massive. The design of the controller very much has the Xbox DNA. The analog sticks are comfortable, full-sized, and have a great range of motion. The D-pad, like an Xbox controller, is just okay. It's rubber membrane, has the 8-way directionals, and it will do the job just fine for D-pad-centric games. It's far from my favorite thing about this device, but it's also far from the worst thing about it too. I like the ABXY buttons, but from an aesthetic perspective, I much prefer the actual colors that match the Xbox controller. On the left side of the device, we have our Xbox button. This is the shortcut to the Xbox game bar, and where you'll be able to quickly access settings, access your friends list, and capture game footage. Strangely, so is this button on the top of the select button. I don't feel like this button should be necessary anymore, and neither should the button on the right side of the screen, which is a shortcut to your games library. The Xbox button now does both of those things for us with the functionality of Game Bar built in. Below each of these are the start and select buttons. I actually kind of found myself accidentally hitting those buttons instead of the actual start and select buttons, kind of confusing them. If I could disable the top buttons or swap them with the start and select, I would. The triggers feel good, and the LB and RB are nice and clicky. The power button doubles as a fingerprint sensor, we've got a 3.5mm headphone jack, and there's a microSD card slot. This specifically is a microSD card slot that has support for the faster UHS-2 cards. They're easy to differentiate because they have 2 rows of contacts instead of just 1. The USB ports are both USB-C, but they have different capabilities. The right port is USB 3.2 Gen 2, which supports DisplayPort 2.1 and Power Delivery 3.0. The left port is the more capable USB 4 Type-C port, which supports DisplayPort 2.1, Power Delivery 3.0, and is Thunderbolt 4 compatible. This is specifically the port you'd use with something like an eGPU. On the back of the device, we've got 2 macro buttons. I'm glad that they're offset from the handles. They're easy to reach for and press, but most of the time, I honestly don't use macro buttons, so I really like that they're not underneath my hands all the time. The black colorway is sleek, and it hides the unfortunately fairly big screen bezels. It's the most practical colorway too if game immersion is something that you're looking for. The screen gets bright, but it's definitely not insanely bright. It's great for indoor gaming, except if you're in direct sunlight. The screen glare is just too much, and the nits for brightness are just not quite there. But the screen also gets very dim, which makes it excellent for gaming in bed or on an airplane. It's not an HDR screen, but despite that, the screen does look and feel good. It's the same display that we've seen in previous ASUS ROG Ally and Ally X devices, so it's tried and true. I think the worst thing about this device is unfortunately the software. Also, just a heads up, this experience is exactly identical to the ROG Xbox Ally, so if this sounds familiar, it's the same thing, but I'm wearing a different t-shirt. The promise of the Xbox full screen experience is beyond exciting to me though. I like SteamOS, but until we get equal compatibility day one from both Windows and SteamOS, Windows wins that contest. From anti-cheat compatibility for games like Call of Duty, to just the fact that devs are not targeting SteamOS, Windows still just has the widest net of compatibility with games. But the experience? Windows doesn't even come close, and neither does the Xbox mode. SteamOS is still king. And that's true from the moment you hit the roadblock of signing into your device on every boot up on Windows. It's just so anti-console. You want to boot up and go, and here we are, still with Windows getting in our way. Granted, once you do log in, we are brought straight into the Xbox full screen experience. But that's only once you finish the first time setup, decline all of those garbage free trials, and then do a bunch of software updates until you can't stay awake to babysit your handheld's first time setup. But once you do spend an evening doing your first time setup, you really do get treated to the beginnings of a true Xbox handheld experience. When you load into the full screen experience, we aren't even loading the Windows desktop environment here, and Microsoft claims that that will save us around 2 GB of RAM, which is usually reserved for services that just simply aren't required for gaming. The Xbox full screen experience is really just the Xbox app full screened and with operating system level controller support. We get an on-screen keyboard with full controller support. We can also use those admin privilege dialogues with only a controller. Even the login screen, which I know I just complained about, but at least I'm happy to see that you can control the pin pad with just your controller. It's a great step forward for usability for sure. But when we dive deeper into the Xbox app experience, it's just not quite there yet. The inclusion of games from other launchers into the Xbox app is at least on par with Armory Crate though. So your Steam, Epic Games, GOG, EA games, and Ubisoft games can all live alongside your Xbox games in the library. But it's also caveated with this concept of extensions, which can be pretty buggy at times. I actually had this problem where my EA games just wouldn't fully show up for some reason. I had to keep enabling the extension. I'm not really sure what's going on, but it's definitely a little bit buggy, so just keep that in mind. It also doesn't help that it's not uncommon to find yourself needing to switch over to the desktop experience. This wouldn't be such a hassle if going to the desktop experience didn't mean that the only way back to Xbox mode was to fully reboot your device. The effort it takes to get into Xbox mode compared to the simple swipe up on the screen, tap desktop mode, and then instantly have your desktop is actually kind of concerning. Why is it so easy to get into desktop mode and so cumbersome to go back into Xbox mode? But I will say that the Xbox full screen experience does have a standout key feature that I think makes the Xbox Ally X a great option for a handheld, and that's compatibility ratings. The compatibility ratings are a combination of downloading precached shaders when you install a game, and also indicators to let you know how that game will perform on your device. This is similar to the system that you might already be familiar with from Valve with Steam Deck verification, But it's a little bit different because as you browse the Xbox Store or the Game Pass library, when you drill down into each game, it's going to let you know how each game will perform on your device. And this is specific to the Ally and the Ally X. This to me is a game-changing feature. It's not just saying yes, this game will boot and load on your device, it's actually saying that this game was made with this device in mind, or at least updated with this device in mind. The only downside is that the compatibility indicators are reserved for games that are within the Xbox Store. Since games from other launchers aren't treated as first-class citizens like Xbox games, we won't see those compatibility indicators from Steam games or other games from other launchers. It's also a weird missing feature that you can't add your own apps manually to the list of applications in the library section. It will at least respect your default browser choice though, so you can at least get rid of Edge. So even though the full screen experience is rough around the edges, I think it's a great first step. I'm feeling optimistic that this is the promise from Windows and Xbox to truly start focusing on this Xbox PC experience. This first iteration will hopefully get a lot of user feedback for the dev team to react to and iterate on. Or maybe I'm just being naive. Either way, it's functional for the most part, despite the sometimes janky and roundabout approaches to features that are essentially a few taps away on SteamOS. Performance on the ASUS ROG Xbox Ally X is simply awesome. Paired with the Xbox handheld optimized versions of games, we're really seeing the ability to bump up texture quality and not rely so heavily on resolution scaling to get games to hit their stride. We're definitely approaching the handheld era where 1080p PC gaming is closer to a reality than ever before. Cyberpunk's benchmark at 1080p gets an average of 50 FPS. That's at the Steam Deck preset and with FSR turned off. Spider-Man 2 also really impressed me. I turned off upscaling, running the game at 1080p on medium settings. You could even turn your TDP down to 17 watts and change the graphics to low and still get a really great frames per second too. Indiana Jones has been optimized for the Xbox Ally and the Ally X, and that can easily be seen here by playing the game at low settings at 1080p. Frame rates are stable and don't really dip below 30 FPS. The ASUS ROG Xbox Ally X is an Xbox or PC supplement. As someone that does like to play the newest games, I can't imagine only ever relying on this handheld to be that. It does feel like it holds up if I'm sometimes going to progress on a game on the handheld, but still primarily play on console or PC. While we're seeing pretty good performance here, I don't think it's a generational, huge performance gain quite yet out of the Z2E chipset. If you have the ROG Ally X, it's just a little bit better than that with performance. It definitely outperforms Steam Deck, but that is at least what I expect from a $1,000 handheld. The Xbox Ally X does something your Steam Deck just doesn't. It comes with, ironically, compatibility, and it's not quite matched yet by SteamOS. If you have Game Pass or you want to use other game launchers without crazy workarounds, this is your device. If you don't have a handheld and you want the compatibility, this is the handheld for you. If you want the latest and greatest, it's this. It's a great handheld at its core. It's incredibly ergonomic. It's got the right pieces of Xbox's DNA. We do have to kind of mention that Xbox is kind of having a weird identity crisis. We're not really sure what's happening with their consoles. Stores are pulling the consoles from shelves. We don't really know what's going on, but at the same time, I don't really think that matters too much with this handheld. I think if anything, this is Microsoft saying we're fully in on the handheld experience. And I think that this is the best parts of Xbox's DNA distilled into a handheld. It feels like this is a device that's a result of collecting a ton of feedback about handheld gaming PC experiences, and this is the amalgamation of that. And even though I get that the handheld looks a bit funky, once you hold the device in your hands, you're going to understand. It's just something that you can game on for hours and hours on end. It's the one and done handheld if you want to invest in something that will be part of your gaming arsenal for several years. $1,000 isn't cheap, but it's the price to pay if you want that AAA gaming experience with the flexibility of a more interoperable gaming library. If you're interested in picking up the ASUS ROG Xbox Ally X, I've got links to it in the description of this video, which will help the channel. And that's it. That's the ASUS ROG Xbox Ally X. And like I said, this was the review for the Ally X, but I've also got the Xbox Ally review, and you can click that link right up there, somewhere there, down in the description. I'm really just hitting a stride here when it comes to Xbox Ally content. I really want to know how Bazzite or SteamOS performs on it. I want to take a look at upgrading the storage to see how easy it is. And basically, what I'm saying is I've got a ton more videos on the Ally and the Ally X, but also on tons of other devices too. So get subscribed so you don't miss future videos. And that's it. I've taken on this impossible task of 2 videos on the same day, and I'm suffering for it. It is very late. I've got a lot of editing to do. Even though I'd really like to just go back to the Ally X, I really want to play more Spider-Man 2, but that's it. That's where I'm leaving it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and yeah. I don't know. I'm tired. I can't think of anything else to say.